John, you will see some incredible miracles. In John chapter 11, Jesus takes a dead man, Lazarus, and he calls him to life. Back to life. A dead man back to life. Like he died, and then he brought him back to life. And I'm like, what book is this that I'm reading? This is wild. In chapter 4, Jesus is just walking along, and there's like an official, someone that works for the government, and his son is sick and is dying. He comes to Jesus and he says, Jesus, you have to come to my house and heal my son. And just a matter of a quick dialogue, he says, just go, your son's healed. Done. Boom. And I'm like, he didn't even go. Like he just thought it and said it. And sure enough, the guy returns back to his house and his son's healed. And I'm like, there's these miracles that are so grand, but I want to take you to John chapter 2. John chapter 2. John chapter 2 is the first miracle that Jesus did. Not to spoil it for you, you may or may not have heard the story before, or you may have heard it before and just breezed right through it, but Jesus, at a wedding, turns water into wine. Still, to me, it seemed bizarre the first time that I heard it. And I think it's so interesting and at the same time, so seemingly small that you can just read right through chapter 3, because right before it, all this stuff is happening in chapter 1, and then you get to chapter 3, and he's talking about how we must be born again, and it's like chapter 2 just kind of gets lost in the wash a little bit. Never happened like, you put 2 socks in. You put 2 socks in. You're like, where is the other sock? And so you just don't wear any, because you're like, I don't know where either one of them are. I tell my wife, I'm like, they're always somewhere. We just got to look for them, Sometimes they're in a sleeve. Those little socks, they're tricky little guys. Just hide anywhere. So in chapter 2, he's at Cana of Galilee, and just for help of kind of putting ourselves in the story, it's not an area of it's not a very wealthy area, and they're having a wedding there, and most people believe that even the wedding that they're kind of pulling off, if you would say, they're kind of making it happen, usually would be like a multi-day wedding reception, like last up to a week, and this one, because it's just not a very affluent area, it's not lasting as long. It's probably just a one-day wedding. One-day wedding, man, Now we're down to a few hours, and people are barely showing up. They're like, I've been here for 5 minutes, I'm out of here, I got my Instagram status I got to check or something like that. So they're at this wedding. It's, kind of in a poor area, and the town itself is kind of named like being known for like the marshy area and the reeds that they're in, and so it's nothing real extravagant about it, and it starts telling us right at the beginning of chapter 2 that there's this wedding and that Jesus was there. He was invited, and his disciples were invited too. At this time, he only has a few disciples. He doesn't have all of his disciples, so him and a few of his disciples are there at the wedding, and all of a sudden, they run out of wine. Wouldn't you know? Trying to have a party, run out of wine. What do? I love that, if you want to call this, the miracle starts with, first, there being a lack of something. I think that God is so strategic and how he does this, because if we don't have a need, if we don't have a lack, here's the thing, if I myself can make a way to have a relationship with Jesus based on my own ability, I don't need what Jesus did on the cross. I don't need it. But because I know that no matter what I do, my sin continues to be around me and to even overtake me, that my only chance to step out of that and be in righteousness is through what Jesus did. So my need is there. I love that he uses the need. So they ran out of wine. So let's look at chapter 2, verse 3. It's pretty simple. When they ran out of wine, the mother of Jesus said to them, they have no wine. When you translate that, from the Greek, it means that they didn't have any wine. I know. I studied it for a long time, you know. It's pretty powerful. Here is what I think is an opportunity for us. Looking at the need and looking at God being the one that meets the need. Here's what I want you to write down. You're taking notes. You're beginning to study this passage right here. I want you to write down that we need to make room for the miracle. We need to make room for the miracle. That looks different for many of us, but here's what I know, generally speaking, about each one of us. In order for us to make room for the miracle, first your supply must run out. Your supply must run out. Second, you must simply speak. They ran out of wine. The supply had run out, and simply it was spoken. My wife and I were going on a little date night a little while back, and we try to go every week on a date. We do pretty good. And we decided this date night was going to be like a little pizza, like pick up Pizza Hut. This may not sound like your kind of thing, but it's our thing. Like, we really enjoy this. And so she gets her pizza that she likes. I get my pizza that I like. And we go. We like to drive and pick it up from Pizza Hut. And then we drive back. And the plan is, like, we'll probably like have a little movie we're going to watch, and eat some pizza. Maybe afterwards we're going to brush our teeth and, whatever. Who knows? Just kind of play it by ear, right? Maybe just kiss a little bit. I don't know. It's a date night. And so we're married, so we should kiss. So at our house by ourselves, not you're there. I don't know why you're being weird about it. We didn't invite you to the date night, okay? And so we're driving back from the date night. It's dark because it gets dark so early. And I'm like, man, what's this deal here? Anyways, we're driving back and it's dark. And we see a dog running through a yard. And because we love dogs, we think we should stop and help it. And so we begin to slow down and try to I don't want this dog to die. I love dogs. We're really close to our house. We're maybe 8 houses away from our house. And as I begin to slow down and look closely, I go, babe, that's our dog. I'm sure of it. And then this is when I should have known, but I just stopped the car in the road, okay? All future and new drivers, this is bad. This is good advice to not do what I'm saying right now. I just stopped the car. I put the hazards on. That's right, I did that, remember? And I just opened the door, and I remember my wife saying, watch out for the cars. I didn't get hit. But I began to go get my dog. And as I begin to go after my dog runs from me. And I get back in the car and I said, babe, I'm really certain that's our dog. It has a red collar on it. It is our dog. It has a little white, it's hard to tell, but I'm really certain. So we begin to chase the dog in the car, and the dog begins to run. And I'm like, oh, my dog is so scared. This is so sad. So we chase it, past our house. And I'm like, whatever, here, girl, trying to be sweet. So the dog, they're just running away from us. Then it dawns on us. I think my wife is the one that said it, how did the dog get out of the house? This is as we're passing our house and continue to chase the dog, and how did our dog get out of the house? Oh no, what if someone broke into our house? Our dog got scared and ran, because that is what my dog would do. My dog would be like, oh. She acts like, I'm about to protect this house, and then you really come in, she's like, nope, see ya. Take whatever you want. Leave the dog treats. You couldn't find them anyways. They're hidden, So then we're like, oh my gosh, someone has broken into our house. So then we forget about our dog. We're like, we'll find our dog later. Our house is in jeopardy. So then I was whipping that Jeep around and doing stuff, man. I was, and I pull in front of the house. Okay, this is when the supply ran out right here, okay? This happens, all right? This is dysfunction between marriage at its highest. I pull up. I slam on the brakes in front of our sidewalk to walk to the house. And I say to my wife, I'm embarrassed that I said this. You go inside. I'm going to go get the dog. And I promise, I was just thinking, hey, you know what? Let's divide and conquer. Why both go inside? So I send her inside. As she gets about halfway, luckily, it's a good little jog between my mailbox and the door. As she gets about halfway, I think, no, bad idea, Mac. So I put it in park, and I'm like, you should go inside. You are the one who has a beard, all right? Your beard must defeat the burglar, okay? So we run inside. Supply is gone. We're not communicating. Like, we're not, we get to the door. We open it up, and we're like, ah. First of all, the door was locked, so we're like, that's a good sign. So we open the door. There's our dog. Just wagging her tail. And I'm like, whose twin dog was that? That I chased out of the neighbor's yard. Oh, no. What have I done? What have I done? So did we go back and try to find the dog? No, we didn't. I'm going to be totally honest. I love dogs. I'm pro most animals. But we were just so excited that our dog was there. So excited. In these moments that are so stressful, and this is silly and fun, and in these real moments that are stressful, you will notice that your supply runs out. And what that means is the ability to maintain that you have built up in the flesh, in the physical, is no longer there. These are the moments when you snap at your wife. These are the moments when you throw a jab at your good friend, and it actually is a good jab. I mean, it hurts, you know what I'm saying? And you're like, ooh, I shouldn't have said that, but there it just went. These are the moments where profanity just begins to slip out, and you're like, I don't even care because I'm just mad. Your supply has run out. The good thing about these moments are these are the moments where God wants to step in. Because you have officially proved to yourself, I can't do it. I don't have what it takes. I need something more than what I have. And at the wedding, this was the moment that they were in. The wine had run out, and they went to Jesus and said, we don't know what to do. So, looking at chapter 2, verse 6, Jesus knows what to do. Now, there were 6 stone water jars there for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. How many know, Jesus, he can take anything or anyone and use it or them for anything. This is just what he does. And so he's about to take the 6 stone jars, big, 20, 30 gallons. We're not talking about it's just on a table. It's a big stone jar that people are for the sake of purification and being clean, before they came into this exact wedding, probably have washed most of themselves in the jars. He's about to take those jars. He's about to put wine that people want to drink in those jars. This is where someone should have stepped in and said, hold on. Have we checked with health codes on this? What I love about what he did is he took what was religious and he began in this moment for the first time turning it into relationship. For the first time. All it had been up until this point was obedience and religion. That's all it had been. That was the only way to the Father. And at this moment, he began to foreshadow the way to relationship with him. Using the jars. So if you're going to make room for the miracle, then you need to be ready for the repurposing that he's about to do in your life. And don't look at it and say, I don't know about that. That doesn't seem like the right way. At this moment, he took tradition and he began to turn it into testimony for the first time. So for some of us, coming to church is a tradition. This is what people do. We should go to church. You have known it as a tradition. And because it's a tradition, it hasn't really brought the life that you thought that it might or hoped that it might. Because it's just a practice. It's just a tradition. But if your view will change on that, if you will let God change your heart on that, to where church is no longer just a tradition, coming to church is my testimony. It's an opportunity, right, for me to encounter God with other believers that I would leave and have something to share. All of a sudden, life is in that. Not in the act, not in the religion of showing up. In the relationship of worshiping God. In the relationship of continually calling Him, God, I need you. So he takes the 6 stone water jars. He begins to use those. Looking at verse 7, he tells the people that are there, he says to the servants, fill the jars with water. And they filled them to the brim. You know, John is the one writing this. And he can't remember whether the jars were 20 or 30 gallons. He doesn't remember. So he just says 20 to 30 gallons. It's like, I'm not going to write what I don't know. Good boy, right? Only do what the Lord is telling you to do. But between 20 and 30 gallons, that's a big difference. I mean, I'm no mathematician, but that's at least 10 or 15% more. He doesn't know whether there were 20 or 30 gallons, but here's what he distinctly remembers and writes. They filled them to the brim. He doesn't know how much they could hold, but what he knew was they were all the way as full as they could be. And here's what I know, that if Jesus tells you to do something, you do it to the brim. All the way to the brim. If you're taking notes, you're following, please write. Make sure it's to the brim. He spoke to your heart, beginning of the year. I want you to spend time with me. Here's this Devo book. Read it every day. Don't read it 6 days a week. Read it every day. He spoke to your heart. He said, I want you to begin journaling. This is something we've challenged our whole launch teams. We want you to journal every day. As much as you can, I want you to journal. Do it to the brim. He told you to go over and walk over and he said, see that person right there? Go tell them that I love them. Don't walk over and say, hey, how's it going? Talk with them like, oh, so good to meet you. You know, don't go do that. It's like, God, I kind of obeyed. No, go over and do it all the way to the brim, just like he told you. So, looking on at verses 8 and 9, he tells them in verse 8, he said, now draw some out and take it to the master of the feast. And so they took it. We see in verses 9 and 10, then the master of the feast tasted the water, now become wine, and did not know where it came from. Though the servants who had drawn the water knew. The master of the feast called the bridegroom and said to him, everyone serves the good wine first, and when the people have drunk freely, then the poor wine. But you have kept the good wine until now. Fill it to the brim, draw it out, take it to the master of the feast. They drink the wine. They drink the wine, and it's too good. It's too good. It's like all of a sudden, I love how it describes the situation. The person drinking it didn't know where it came from, but the person who gave him the drink knew where it came from. And what they celebrated was the fact that the wine was so good. Except for they didn't celebrate the person who just made water into wine. Here's what we do, is we get so tunnel vision, locked in to God meeting our needs. And I want God to meet your needs. I do. I had you write it down on a card. We cared about it so much, we went and bought cards and pins and put them under your chairs because I believed there was going to be freedom in your heart as you confess that before the Lord. So I want God to meet your needs. I know that He does. I've experienced it. I've been waiting. I am waiting. I know where you're at. We get so locked in, though, to the miracle and to the thing that we're waiting on that we miss it. And here's what I got to tell you tonight. Please do not miss the maker because you were so focused on the miracle. They missed the maker because they were celebrating the miracle. Did anybody say, who did this? Jesus did it. Why did He do this? He was showing us all the things to come. No. The wine was so good. And here's what happens. What He will give you will be so good that there will be the possibility that you will then turn and worship the miracle that the Maker gave you instead of worshiping the Maker. You pray for a job, and you pray for a job, and you pray for a job, and then God opens up the door for you to get that job. And then you say, man, I have worked so hard, everybody. That's what you say. You pray for someone to be in your life. You pray for a friend. And then you get a friend and you think, man, I must be a pretty good guy. Because they want to hang out with me all the time. We forsake the Maker on a miracle. And here's what I know. Miracles come and go. Come and go. Anybody ever tasted this wine in this text? No. It got drank or poured out. It's gone. It came and it went. It had its moment and then it was gone. But the Maker is permanent. It's not going anywhere. The need is fleeting, and what He gives you to fulfill it is fleeting. But what is permanent is relationship and His presence. So don't miss the Maker because your eyes are too fixed on the miracle.